seemed to be a sea of blood. He started walking through it until a tornado appeared above him. In his past life, it took him a long time to pass this test, and he only survived because he was driven by the hatred he felt for his ex-girlfriend. But now, he wasn't the same person anymore. The tornado swirled overhead, pulling everything into the air. The blood started to rise, but he remained still. His face was already covered in the blood, but time passed, and he stood firm. This was a test of survival against emotions like hatred and fear, and he easily passed. A voice from above declared it enough and told him he could return. When he found himself back in the cave, the system instructed him to proceed to the second test. A portal for the second trial appeared. He stepped through and began walking in what seemed like space. As he walked, a voice told him to give up, saying that as soon as he fainted, he moved to the third phase. His body felt the pressure of the environment. The farther he walked, the better the profession and stats he'd receive. Knowing everything he'd been through in his past life and the people he faced, he couldn't give up now. He clenched his fists and kept walking. Suddenly, a golden light appeared behind him. When he turned, it seemed like he'd found the exit. In his life, it seemed he had truly made it to the end. For the first time, this kid was crying emotional that he had actually achieved something. He was congratulated for passing the second test, and now was time for the last one. Of course, the final test was the hardest, but without hesitation, he stepped into the portal and arrived in a cave. The system informed him that he had to defeat the Guardian. He stretched out the sword he had obtained earlier and waited. Soon, a strange fluctuation in the air appeared in the corner of the cave. From it, a small black kitten jumped out. Man, I thought it was going to be a mega boss, but it was just a little kitten. He seemed disappointed, saying he had waited so long just for something like this to show up. In the past, it had given him a lot of trouble, and he had suffered. But in this life, with all the talents he had, it wasn't going to be as difficult. He closed his eyes, sensing something approaching. At that moment, the energy shifted, and seemed to come from above. But he was ready, and with a swift slash, he struck the kitten. The cut that this cursed thing had inflicted on him in the past, he now returned. Had he gotten that scar from another creature? Or am I doing crazy with his Alzheimer's again? Anyway, the kitten fell dead. Our boy had finally passed the third test. The class change scroll for Phantom Assassin appeared. What seemed strange that he was still in the room. He wasn't sure if this was a bonus, or if he was stuck because of his hack. He started looking around, asking if this was the system's fault. That's when he noticed that he hadn't yet received the true power of the scroll. He decided to begin the activation to see if anything else would happen. He asked the system where he was going next, but it did respond. He realized that somehow, the scroll was interfering with his hack. He decided to keep searching the room. After scurrying the cave, he found what seemed to be a strange fissure. When he touched it with his finger, a golden light began to appear. Suddenly, an image of an ox and a phoenix appeared, the same symbols from the scroll. The image fixed itself on the wall, and the ground began to shift. The strange image then turned into a small door. He approached and opened the door to the room. At the back, it was an orb and another scroll. He approached and opened the scroll where it was written, Shai Yu. The scroll seemed to be the final test of an emperor who had been killed long ago. He read that he had to place his hand on the painting. As soon as he touched it, the system informed him that an unknown lineage had been discovered. After analyzing the energy, it began to change his profession. The system then declared that the test was over and that he would receive the profession of Soldier Lord. He was thrilled since he would be able to keep his old talent while gaining a new one. He picked up the orb on the table, which began to merge with his hand. The system notified him that the item could change form and absorb the energy of other equipment to grow stronger. He was amazed at something that could grow without apparent limitations. The orb then jumped to his forehead. After experiencing a headache and waking up, he decided to finish the test, having been in the cave for too long. When he came out, he found a pile of dead zombies around him. He saw the scroll in front of him and the system informed him that he was still receiving the Soldier Lord profession. With this new profession, instead of gaining 1 attribute point, he now gained 3 strength, 3 physical, and 3 other attributes. He knew that with all these stats, he could easily walk through a horde. For being the first to achieve a profession, he earned the Pioneer's achievement. He took a look at the profession, which had no major surprises except for a mysterious third skill. He grabbed his staff and decided it was time to test the power of the orb. He threw an item toward the orb and commanded it to devour it. The orb glowed and the item vanished. Since it absorbed something with a lot of energy, the orb evolved the silver rank. He then starts testing the orb's function, creating a flame in his hand. After work, he transforms the orb into a sword, deciding to keep that form for now. Since he's wielding the orb's sword, he gains 2 abilities related to that form. He then asks the orb to transform into a bow. Immediately, it dissolves and reconstitutes itself. His attributes change as to his abilities. He starts having fun transforming it into different weapon types to see the magic it provides. Eventually, his mental energy runs out and he can no longer change his form. He decides his time to rest. The entire server receives an announcement that he's reached level 10 and changes profession. Everyone who's been working hard recognizes the name of this damned guy again. Even the most dedicated players hadn't yet reached level 7. Lin Z then takes some energy recovery items and drinks a potion. The Pioneer title grants him 1,000 prestige points, some coins, and additional attributes. It also reduces the stats of an opponent facing him by 5%. Feeling tired, he tells the system to open the silver rank to equipment box. Inside, he receives a mask of the evil phantom which hides his information from any player, not 5 levels above him. It also has the evil gaze ability, which induces fear for 3 seconds. He equips the mask and activates its phantom effect. Now, all that remained was checking the hack he would receive. Since he had now attained his first profession in surpassed level 11, he could equip another ring. Unfortunately, he had already fused all of his rings, so he'd need to get another one. For now, he had 2 extra attribute points left which he immediately used. The night passes and he sets out for another hunt the next day. Outside, everyone was celebrating having cleared the museum. Govdong, accompanied by Big Idiot, steps up to make an announcement. He congratulates everyone and says the mission was a great success that introduces the person who made the biggest contribution, Big Idiot, equipped with our boy's gear. At that moment, Lin Z shows up wearing his demonic mask. Govdong says it's good to see him as he was worried something had happened. But the first time we see a girl looking somewhat smitten by Lin Z, aside from that one who disappeared after 2 chapters. Govdong announces that they killed over 1,500 zombies and Big Idiot alone took down more than 100. Afterward, Govdong calls Lin Z to the warehouse and shows him a pile of loot boxes, saying all of it was the spoils from the mission. He thanks Lin Z again and asks if they could talk more later, reminding him that the more people he has, the more power he can wield. With the numbers they had here, he could do whatever he wanted. Lin Z ponders this, thinking that if he gathered more people, he could get more equipment and perhaps advance faster to diamond rank. Not to mention, he had so many resources that sharing food wouldn't be a problem. Plus, he could sell what he did need to the others for coins. So he tells Govdong they could discuss a trade. However, Govdong puts a hand on his shoulder, saying Lin Z was the key to their success and could ask for whatever he wanted. Our boy doesn't hold back and says he wants equipment. Govdong, already expecting this, says he understands how hard it is to come by such things. He tells Lin Z to hold out his hand as he had prepared a surprise. He places a ring in Lin Z's hand, telling him it's the best thing they found during the mission. Govdong assures him that if he ever needs anything in the future, all he has to do is ask. Govdong is thrilled with this gift, thinking he'll keep Lin Z by his side. Lin Z then announces that he wants to meet everyone at 7 o'clock to discuss the end of the beginner period, and truth his plan is to trap them all in the warehouse so they can't escape when the period ends, ensuring they all die. This is his twisted way of thanking them for being so kind and giving him the ring. However, Govdong assures him that they're no longer beginners so they won't die. Guvdong thanks him again and promises to inform everyone, asking how they should handle the exchanges. Lin Zed tells him that when the time comes, he'll explain everything, deciding not to push the issue since they don't seem interested in listening to him right now. With that, he leaves and Guvdong mentions they don't need any resource letters, but Lin Zed knew something was bound to happen. Later, Lin Zed is in his room, playing with the orb and creating various items. After feeding it all the equipment he had, the orb finally advances to gold rank. He was surprised as he thought he wouldn't receive anything of this rank until around level 30. Additionally, the gold-ranked item has double the attributes and causes bleeding damage. He heads to the window where a horde of zombies is gathered and says they arrive just in time. He throws his dagger at which dissolves in the air, slicing through everything. He calls Big Idiot, telling him it's time to get to work. That night, it continued eliminating countless zombies, eventually piling up bodies. Out of nowhere,